Hey, what's good, YouTube? Please excuse the bad night, y'all. I'm about to take a shower, but I wanted to make a quick video before I get in there because then I got stuff back to back to back. But today's verse of the day is Habakkuk 2:14. The earth shall be full of the knowledge of the glory of the Lord as the waters fill the sea. That's spoken by the prophet Habakkuk. And I just want us to actually think about that for a second, because think about how crazy that is in light of everything else, in light of the evidence for the supernatural, in light of looking at near-death experiences and testimonies of real exorcists from different denominations, what have you. The fact that the spiritual world is real and we have testimonies of that from other sources, prophecies like this become so incredible because we have this prediction that Yahweh, the God of Abraham, will be acknowledged by the whole world, beyond just the Israelite people, the Israelite tribes. And that's just so profound when you understand how this God, that exactly that has happened. That is a prophecy fulfilled against all odds, that this God from this one people group would become the God of all continents. You see what I'm saying? Especially after the exile. Because after the exile, a lot of people would think that their God failed them after they got captured by other nations, right? That was sort of how people thought, but with the Israelites, it was the exact opposite. So the fact that after the exile, the entire world would come to acknowledge the God of Abraham, including places that these Israelites wouldn't even have known existed, like North America, and things like that, speaks to this prophecy fulfilled against all odds. That alone is pretty incredible. But even more when we consider the Book of Enoch. I just made a video about the Book of Enoch, my last video, and the reason that's so fascinating is because the Book of Enoch sort of gives us a glimpse to what different Jewish sects believed about the Messiah, about the Son of Man. Because in Jesus' time there were the Pharisees, there were the Sadducees, and then there were the Essenes. The Essenes were a real group of Jews that were like monks, and they camped out in the desert. So we do have a precedent for Israelite monks secluding themselves out in the desert, and they believed the Messiah was in their midst. But the thing is, they identified the Messiah with the divine Son of Man figure. They saw the Messiah as going to be worshipped. They saw the one who's going to bring the Gentile salvation is the one who's going to get worshipped as the Son of Man that was pre-existent with God before all the angels were created. All this stuff is in the Book of Enoch, which predated Christ. And the Book of Enoch, the Essenes, the Qumran community, were probably the most people that were the most into this Enoch stuff. So it's so crazy to believe that in Jesus' time there are real Jews who believed the Messiah would be divine and would be the catalyst for the nations coming to believe in God. Like, this was a real historical expectation of people outside of the early Christians. And this belief, because now we're talking about these prophecies that we just read, as history goes on in the Israelite community, we're getting different thinkers interpret how that's going to happen. The Essenes, the Qumran, the Dead Sea community says, the Son of Man who gets worshipped is going to be the means in which the Gentiles are saved. So how more insane does it become that this belief is exactly what happened with Jesus of Nazareth, who claimed to be the Son of Man, who sits at the right hand of God and rides in the clouds of heaven, this same identity that Caiaphas tore his robes for. We can look at the Book of Enoch and see the backdrop for what this whole Son of Man thing went. And the fact that this belief existed and it would be Jesus that fulfilled it is so fascinating, because it's so tangible in history that the Son of Man is going to be the one who is worshipped by the nations and cause them to believe in the Most High God, fulfilling prophecies like Habakkuk and Isaiah 11. Ancient Hebrews tracked on this, and it was Jesus, Yeshua, who fulfilled these real prophecies and these real predictions that ancient Jews had. Like, it blows my mind really think about the magnitude of this. Habakkuk predicted and prophesied that the entire world would be full of the knowledge of the glory of the Lord. The Book of Enoch and ancient Jews believed the Son of Man, who is worshipped in Daniel and the Book of Enoch, would be the reason this happened. Jesus, who claimed to be the Son of Man of Daniel 7, was this reason for the entire nations and the empire that colonized the Israelites in the first place, in Africa as well, in Persia, and all these places outside of Israel coming to believe in the same God, just as the prophets had stated, and just like the Qumran community believed. This is so fascinating that I don't want these words to be lost. Like I'm not an adequate vessel to explain it yet. Like, I hope y'all realize how mind-blowing this is, and how against all the odds this is. Not only that, one, Jew from a carpenter background would do all of this in the world, but that what he believed about himself and what the apostles believed, they made a total 180 and put their necks on the line for proclaiming aligns exactly with what we have in the ancient holy texts of the Israelite people, verbatim fulfilled against all odds. Really think about how insane that is on its own merit, but especially compared with the fact that we know there's a supernatural world out there, things to this day testifying to the validity and power of Jesus' name, and the fact that we have this insane backdrop of all these prophecies being fulfilled against all odds, and the exact specific means from the scriptures that Israelites are writing about that Jesus did do. So anyone who doubts Jesus is the Messiah, yo, send him this video, because we're gonna, when we peep game, we see Jesus actually fulfilled the messianic expectations of the Jews of his time. Now, not all the Jews believe the same way it is today, the same way it was back then. But if you really want to have the conversation, we got to peep game, because there's this whole forgotten sect of ancient Jews that were so zealous for righteousness that Jesus would have been a very interesting person when they look at him doing all of these things and fulfilling the expectations that they had in the desert. So, very interesting and dope stuff. All praises to the Most High. I pray this video can be a blessing. I just felt inspired to do this video because the verse of the day just happened to be a great prophecy that we just read and think cool, but we don't understand that these happen really against all odds. Like these things have been fulfilled verbatim beyond what even these prophets and people would have expected, because the name of God and glory of God has spread to regions they wouldn't even have heard about. The lands of the Native Americans and the far reaches of Europe and Africa and all these different places have come to know of the God of Abraham. And that's really fascinating thing to think about. So that being said, I give all praises to the Most High God, who is truly triune. Ancient Jews recognize this fact as well. Y'all be blessed in the Most High, and I'll see you in the next video, all right? Peace and love.